I'm LaShonna Sharp. I'm the Chief Risk Officer at Valid Systems. My background is entirely focused and has been focused on underbanked and underserved account holders. And so one of the things that I've been super passionate about is ensuring that from a risk perspective, we are able to offer solutions to this customer base. The InmediateFUNDS product is a product that we are risk assessing and looking at account holder information for deposits and offering them immediate availability. We don't necessarily have a lot of what we would consider P2 data or PII data. We don't receive the account holder's name. We don't receive, their date of birth. The only thing that we would consider as sensitive data is zip code of where the transaction happened. So we didn't have a lot of information to go off of to determine a bias. The reason that we wanted to conduct the study was I wanted to understand and be completely autonomous to our data science and decision science team of whether or not our models were biased. When we do our model validation work with our banks to look at things that the model is doing, the algorithm it's using, the target, the KPIs, things like that, sometimes the questions come around, do you know whether there is a bias? I wanted to understand if we could determine whether there was a bias or not. So completely autonomous to those groups that are creating the models and creating our machine learning feature sets. We went ahead and pulled based on census data, and we identified two segments we wanted to focus on. One was an income segment and the other was a minority segment. And so our bias analysis that we did was entirely focused on those two segments. The primary KPIs that we use at Valid, not just within this analysis, are pass rate or approval rate, and then the secondary one is loss rate. And I think the thing that's important around loss rate is the fact that at Valid, we guarantee back to the financial institution. So in the event that the item that we approved returns, we actually then guarantee that account holder and we guarantee the bank those funds back. So when we look at these charts, some things to keep in mind is that we divide it up. So for an income segmentation, we have four areas that we divided the data up into. Below poverty line, based on the current year that we conducted the survey and the analysis, where that poverty line sat. Low household income, medium, and then high. What we were hoping to see is that it is relatively flat, and that is what we saw. And so from the below poverty line, we actually have our highest pass rate, which make me feel very good because those are the people that need the money the fastest. And so we were a little over a 90% pass rate for that segmentation. And then at low, we were at 90, just under that. And then when you go all the way down to high household income, we were at an 85. So about a 5% dip. But the secondary thing that I think made me feel really good was when we started looking at loss rate. And so I have a different chart to look at that for that. What we see is if we were going to be biased, if we were attempting or saw that we had bias within our models, I think what we would see is that in that high minority population, that's where our loss rate would be the lowest. And actually, it's the highest. So when you do a delta comparison between low minority population, which we were running at about a 15 basis points, versus a high minority, we're running at a 19 basis points. And those are tangible dollars for Valid that we're having to pay back. So I was extremely happy to see this. I was, satisfied. So we actually have two things that we have going on since conducting this analysis. And one is we want to be able to do this analysis across all of our machine learning models. That's one thing. And then the secondary thing is the platform that we utilize to build our machine learning models and where we integrate our machine learning features into has a new system that they've put into place in the management system where we can actually do some cross-class disparity analysis down to the feature level. When you're using machine learning, you have to be careful and be able to know how you can dig into that data and ensure that not just your model is not biased, but if it is showing any bias, what's causing that? What are the features that are dipping into that bias? And so we need to be able to get there in order to be transparent. So I'm excited to start implementing that in the next year.